Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and a man who's done very well for himself in 2015. Michael Armstrong has spent his life in radio and music, and he's putting the two together now with a brand new album and a new single which has done very well with airplay on Radio 2 and across the UK as well. Michael, nice to talk to you.
Good to speak to you, Alex.
How are you doing? I mean, what a life you've had, because really this is a culmination of all your dreams, isn't it? You're working in music, which is your passion, and getting it on the radio.
Yeah, it finally happened. I'm an overnight sensation after 25 years of trying, yeah. Always wanted to be in the music business, and it's finally coming true after working with my dad in the building industry for 20 years and dreaming of this moment. I finally kind of organically, all these things came together with the kind of end of my dad got ill, the economic climate wasn't very good for the building industry, and I met a young lady called Lisa Davis who liked the music, and all these things came together, and here we are.
It's an amazing story, and of course it's culminated in this new album which is coming out later this year, and a track, The Radio Years, which has got play on Radio 2 and endorsement by people like Terry Wogan. I've got to ask you the question I've asked many stars over the years: how does it feel when you switch on your radio and it's you coming out of it?
Well, it was nervous because I've been told that Terry Wogan was going to play the song, and Terry Wogan's show is 2 hours long, and he obviously chose to play my song with about 10 minutes left, about 5 minutes left to go, and I've been sitting there with my family listening to the whole show. Of course, I always listen to Terry's show, but listening to the whole show, and I began to think that maybe I'd been edged out because one of the live acts had gone on too long, and then that string part came in, which is the start of my song, and I brought a tear to my eye, I must say, but more relief than anything, I think.
How do you know when it's ready? I mean, when you make a song, that's bad enough in itself, but then you've got to make sure that it's radio ready and it sounds with the right processing and all the music is mixed right and the vocals are perfect. How do you know when that's done? Is that just an instinct?
Well, I think for the first time recording this album, and it's taken me 2 years to record the album, I had a co-producer, Keith Bessie, and Keith's worked with the likes of Elton John and 10cc and Sir Cliff Richard, the Ramones, loads of guys, and Keith heard my EP and wanted to work with me on this album. I don't think it would have ever been ready if it was down to me. It was actually Keith saying, OK, Mike, you've got to draw a line under this now, because even when we were doing the finished masters, I was saying, well, maybe you could just do a little bit more on the voice here, or maybe we should try this. And he said, no, enough's enough. 2 years, we've got to do something else.
Is it interesting from your perspective going and standing in front of audiences doing it live? Because, I mean, you're a guy who's got many people on the radio as a promoter, and suddenly you're the guy who needs to be promoted. It's a switch, isn't it? How have you coped with the fame of standing on a stage and holding people's attention?
I've stood on a stage holding people's attention for a lot longer than I have promoted anyone else. I've been doing that since I was, I think, 14 years old. I got my first job working in the Holiday Inn hotel chain in the bars, singing, playing the guitar with my brother. And as I said earlier, I then ended up going into the building industry with my father. So it's only in the last 4 or 5 years that I've become a music promoter. So yeah, I'm used to the standing on stage thing. It's what I always wanted to do and what I always thought I should do. And yeah, working as a promoter has just given me access to the other side as well. So it's been a real eye-opener.
Your sound is unique, and that's what you need in this business. What you don't need is to sound like the next girl group or the next boy band. You've got your own sound and an incredibly distinctive voice. I presume you were born with that. You can't be trained with that. This is who you are.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm from going around and playing pubs and clubs for a long time, I'm actually a really good mimic, so I can do other people's voices. I do a great Neil Diamond. I could be on that Stars in Their Eyes and Tom Petty and...
Is Crackling Rose on the new album?
There are a couple of covers on there, but I've tried to sing it Michael rather than like them. Yeah, so I'm a good mimic, but I guess when I try and sing in my own voice, I don't know. I just, you know, I'm not trying to be anyone else, so that's just my voice. I've been told it's a touch of Donald Fagen about it, when I love Steely Dan, so that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I hope you take this as a compliment. It's meant as such. I mean, it's rustic and real, and that's what you need, especially with a guitarist. Is it tough doing those pub gigs? Because, I mean, your job is to hold their attention and they're mostly distracted by the beer. I guess it gives you a sort of a kind of a rhinoceros by the end of it.
I just get drunk with them, actually. That's the best thing to do, yeah. That's the good thing about a pub gig and playing other people's songs. I get as drunk as a skunk with the rest of them, yeah.
What great advice. You could take this this into theatres and all sorts.
Oh, I do.
And then, of course, as you say, lately you've been doing these theatres, and that must be interesting again, because now you've got the lighting and the curtain and the stage managers and all of that. Does it change your performance, or do you try and remember what it was like back in the day where it's just you and a guitar and a few punters looking at you?
It's a different kind of thing, and I think I've got quite good at it. When I did the first couple, it was really nerve-wracking and different, but you get into a role and you get into it because in a pub you're not speaking to the audience, they just want to hear the music in the background. But when you're out on a stage, it's silence in between each song. Well, hopefully not complete silence after they've applauded. And then you've got to speak to the audience. And I think that's one of the good things, because my songs have stories. And because I've been through so much in the last 5 or 6 years and met so many fantastic people, many of whom are my heroes, I've got some great stories to tell. So, you know, I have a good patter with them, and it's a nice atmosphere.
What's also interesting is the collaborations, not only behind the scenes with the producers, but the people you've done duets with as well. Is that thrilling when they're prepared to endorse you by being on your track? I mean, that's a great compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, hugely. I'm still pinching myself about the guys who I've got to come and play on this. I mean, as I said already, I love the band Steely Dan, and there was a track on the album, well, there is a track on the album called The Cola Paranoia, which I actually wrote and mainly pretty much finished recording and sent it to the co-producer, and I said to him, think of Steely Dan's The Royal Scam album and you'll know where I'm coming from. And he said, yeah, great, listen to it. And about 3 months later, completely by coincidence, I was introduced to Elliott, Randall, the guitar player who had played on that album of Steely Dan's and many other albums. And I got his email address, and that night I sent in the song and said, you met me earlier on, what do you think of this song? And he called me up within 5 minutes and said, yeah, I want to play on it. And he ended up playing on 3 songs on the album. We used his studio and his time free of charge. He's become a friend, and that's a huge endorsement. Yeah, and you sort of become full circle. Yeah, I pinch myself. Brilliant.
What are you best at? I mean, you can't be a smart ass at everything. Are you an amazing guitarist, an amazing singer, an amazing songwriter? Is it equal? Which is the thing you love to do the most and you're best at?
I hope to be a songwriter more than anything, I think. I don't think I'm not a virtuoso guitar player. I learnt enough on the guitar to be able to accompany my voice and to be able to write songs, and the same on the piano. I taught myself to play the piano just to accompany myself. So it's the songwriting for me, yeah, and hopefully I think I'm a pretty good singer, yeah.
I think that's what's so touching about the radio years. You don't just have to be in the business to get it, but I mean, it's a story, isn't it? And you try and make all of your songs like that they tell a tale.
I don't know about all of them, but I think a vast majority of them have a story behind them, and that's what I like to do when I go and play in front of the shows and the theatres. I tell people what the stories behind the songs, yeah.
And are you one of the Elton types that can sit there and it comes to you in 20 seconds and it's suddenly on the paper, or do you take hours and hours and hours, days and weeks and months and years to put these songs together?
Both. Very rarely does it come that quickly. I'll come up with a chord progression or an idea, and I'll record it into the iPhone, and then when I normally write songs when I'm on a break. So my parents live in Spain, so I go and see my parents in the summer for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll sit there and write 15 songs in those 2 or 3 weeks because I haven't got anything else to worry about, and I listen to all the snippets I've recorded on the iPhone and carry on from there.
It's a tough business to get into and to get success with. I mean, and you've done it. I mean, this year's been extraordinary. Did you think it had happened this fast? Because there is a momentum, isn't there? You get one interest and then another's interested, and you dream of getting on radio too, which you've done. It must be thrilling for you this year.
It is, but make no mistake, it's not quick. It's not been a quick thing. It's taken me 2 years to record the album. And as I said before, 25 years to write it. So, you know, it's been a long, slow process, but I'm very thrilled that it's finally happening now.
So I suppose the job is you get the album made, you promote it, and then you got to go out and tour it. So that's the next leg of your career, I suppose, is taking it to the people. Is that something that excites you? Because when you've come from the bottom of the pubs, if you like, to then be doing theatres and clubs where they're actually going to listen, that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get out there and play the album. I want people to hear the album and to recognise the songs. I did a show just at the weekend, and I said, I played the radio years, and I said this song's been picking up some airplay, and the people in the audience stood up and clapped. It was about halfway through the show, and I thought, and it was really quite touching. It was a really nice moment, and I thought, oh, I've made a connection somewhere.
Well, it's not easy. I mean, I think that's what people realise. It's a tough business to be in and stay in. You can get one hit, but can you get two? And I suppose that's the next challenge, isn't it? Is to find the next record that they're going to want to play next.
I've got an album full of them. I'm not worried about that.
Good. Listen, let's give you a website, because you're going to be touring all over the UK, Bath, and you're coming to the Epsom Playhouse, Myers Studio, the Acoustic Tea Rooms in Cumbria. That's going to be quite a trip for you, and then Surrey as well. What's your website?
It's www.michaelarmstrongmusic.co.uk.
Can we get the single as a download? Is that available now that Terry played?
Yes, you can. It's available on iTunes and Amazon and all those sorts of places.
Brilliant. It's called The Radio Years. It's excellent. Thank you for coming, Michael, and talking to me. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the tour.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.